I want to then touch upon one of the biggest aspects concerning Turtle Troop. Going back a little bit into that team, I mentioned it earlier on in this entire conversation, but you guys experienced not just within the server but also outside of the server, as opposed to like finding a new home and finding an org, and it's been reported quite a few times throughout the year. And if you're able to talk about that, how that came about, then go ahead. If not, then I understand. But
Mm,
there was times in which you guys were in discussions with certain orgs, Moist Esports, and then XQC, that sort of thing. And so, going into that, like, how difficult or what was the climate like when it comes to you guys looking for an org and having them sponsor you throughout the season as it went along?
uh, so I don't want to talk too much about the XQC thing, mainly because I think it's the whole thing is stupid, and I don't want to get what do you call it? Like that guy has a lot of diehard fans, and I already considered talking about that, but it's just not worth it. Like it is what it is. I'm just gonna let it go. But yeah, we were close to signing with him, and it just fell through. And I think that was the only time that we actually had an org. I don't think we actually were talking to Moist. But in terms of the climate and how we wanted to find a home, that was the whole season. We spent the whole season with every iteration reaching out to Dignitas, FlyQuest, Space Station, all these orgs. Like we were constantly searching, but I gotta sneeze. So
That's you.
I think a misconception that people had was that we were asking for a ridiculous amount of money and too many orgs, and like we just denied a lot of orgs. But that wasn't the case at all. We had this is one official offer, and that was from XQC, and then it fell through, like I said. But we didn't even have like those like Mickey Mouse orgs for $500 a month. We didn't even have those. I think the thing was the orgs that were too good were like, nah, we fuck challengers, esports trout. And then the orgs that were like those types of $500 orgs were like, they're not gonna respond to us anyway, whatever. But we had nothing. No one offered us anything. But we were searching the whole time. I think immediately I want to make that known. Like we were not ignoring organizations. We were responding to calls left and right, and they would just be like, "Okay, no, we're good." But yeah, I mean, we only had and like the only orgs that we talked to were like I think we were talking to FlyQuest for a bit, but they were like on and off. They were like on and off with us, and like they ended up egoing us. We're talking to DSG as well after relegation, but I think I don't want to leak this actually. Yeah, no, that one fell through too though. But I think he just wants to do other stuff.
Yeah, it does sort of brings a sense of surprise as to it going, or the discussions with those orgs um ending in that fashion each time. It does also brings about a sense of frustration also on your end, I can assume, of course. um and it does also bring, as I said, a surprise as to the fact that nothing would really emerge from that initial discussion phase and get into like a concrete sort of signing final phase to the level as to where the whole negotiations happen with the XQC thing. Um, why do you think there those orgs that you mentioned didn't want to sign Turtle Troop and get into Valorant and get into the tier two scene?
It's just not profitable. Like, there's no point. I think the reason why these other orgs in the first place, like signed Moist and signed OR and Mad Lions, was because it's the beginning and they saw potential in them. But as the season actually started, it was very clear that it was going to be M80 or guard winning the whole thing, and if you're not winning the whole thing, it just isn't profitable. So I think that's why these orgs didn't want to get in. It's just I think esports is really inflated because of COVID. There's all these orgs like those and challengers are like the remnants, but I think even after this year, there's not going to be that many organizations. There's going to be like 6 for Asian teams, I'd imagine, going into this year. Like it's going to be way more than just us, or that was us. But it's just, yeah, like I said, it's just if you're not winning the whole thing, there's no point for these orgs to like. There's no incentive for them to get in.